Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to be creating our first C++ class and recompiling the editor from Visual Studio Code. So at the end of the day, you will have a C++ class that you can locate in your content drawer and a Visual Studio Code project that you can open and compile. Let's dive in and see how. So now that we have all of our tooling in place, it's time to start creating some C++ classes. Now, before we do that, we need to switch our default editor so that we can use Visual Studio Code by default. Now, the place to do this is in the editor preferences rather than in the project preferences, so it is a global setting across your entire editor. So we go to the Edit menu, down to Editor Preferences. That pops up this tab here, and then we're going to look in the left-hand pane at General and then Source Code. And under there, there's basically one option, which is our source code editor. Now, on a PC, this will default to Visual Studio 2022. On a Mac, it will default to Xcode. We want to go ahead and change this setting so that we're all on the same page and using Visual Studio Code. When you do that, a little pop-up shows up saying, hey, this setting requires that you restart the editor. So let's go ahead and restart it now. And I do encourage you to go ahead and do this and follow along with me and restart the editor while you're watching the rest of the next steps. So now we don't need our editor preferences tab, so we can close that down. What we want to do is create our first class. Now, the class we're going to create is going to be for a moving platform that we're going to program in C++. So the place that we go to create a new C++ class is to the Tools menu and then New C++ class here. So we click on that, brings up a new class wizard, and this is going to automatically create some of the code for us to get us started. Now, we want to create an actor because we're going to be placing this in the world as a moving platform. There's a few different options we could have theoretically, but for simplicity's sake, we're going to start off with creating an actor. Then we can click on the next button and we want to give our actor a name. So my actor is a really rubbish name for this. We are going to be calling it Moving Platform, and I'm going to type it like this with a capital M, moving, and then a capital P for platform. And that, because there's no spaces allowed in the names of classes in C++, this simply allows us to easily pick out the different words by using a capital letter to start each word. So you can easily see that it's moving platforms and not anything else. Then we can leave it in the default location. We can leave everything else as a default and just click Create Class. This is going to go through the process of generating all of the code and setup we need for C++, because up till now this project has simply been a blueprint only project, but now it's gone ahead and added all the things it needs to be a C++ and blueprint project. You can see that there's this message will pop up that says, your project now includes sources. Please close the editor and build from your IDE. What is an IDE? Well, IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment, and for all intents and purposes, that just means our source code editor. So what it means is we want to open up the C++ in Visual Studio Code. So we click OK to that. And then the next thing that pops up here is it's saying successfully added moving platforms, but you must recompile. Would you like to open the code editor now? Well, you should say yes, but I'm just going to show you what happens if you accidentally close this message down by mistake. So we're just going to say no. It leaves us here in the editor. And you'll notice if you go to your content browser, it hasn't added any C++ in here yet. And we'll see what that looks like in just a second. But what you can do if you forgot or didn't open the editor at that point is you can go back to your Tools menu and click here. There is an Open Visual Studio Code option. Now, it's important to note that in recent versions, we also have to click the Refresh Visual Studio Code project every time we add a new class. This doesn't happen automatically for us at the moment. And then you can go on to click the Open Visual Studio Code project button after that. And if you didn't have this option here either, or you had to close the editor or whatever, you can also go to your project in Windows Explorer or Finder, and you can find the .code workspace file. That is the one that you can open, and that will go ahead and open with Visual Studio Code, or you may need to choose to open it in Visual Studio Code. And then this is what you'll end up with. You can see we have got, by default, this terminal will not be open for you. So let's just close that down. And what you will see is there'll be 2 tabs available here, potentially 2 tabs. They may not be open for you, but you'll have a Explorer on the left showing you all the files in your project. You'll have maybe some code open in the center. It doesn't matter at this stage. We will get to understanding Visual Studio Code a lot more later on. The main thing we want to use it for right now is to recompile our editor binary. So to do that, let's first close down our editor. It doesn't actually have to be closed to do this, but we might as well close it now. And then we need to go to the terminal menu up at the top for Visual Studio Code. Then go down to Run Build Task, and you can see that there is an associated shortcut which we'll be using later on. So make note of what this is on your platform. For me, it's Control-Shift-B. So we're going to click that option. And then what you want to do, you can see I've got a recently used task in here, but you will not have a recently used task. You'll need to scroll on down to find that task, which for me isn't in the options. But the important thing to look for is that it says editor. So we've got Obstacle Assault editor, then development over here, and then build. So we want editor, development, build. Let's go ahead and select the option that matches that for you. The platforms may be different. You can see that there is an iOS platform here. There is a Win64 platform. There'll probably be Mac platform if you're on a Mac. You're obviously going to go for the platform that you're on. I'm on Win64, Windows 64, so that's the one I'm going for. So go ahead and click that. And what it will do is we'll open a little window down here at the bottom called Terminal, and it'll have a bunch of text scrolling by, which is the process of compiling this newly added C++ into binary that can be run in our editor. So this is a reasonably longer process, so I would like you to go ahead and get started compiling your own C++. So create a new moving platform C++ actor in the editor. Remember to switch over from Visual Studio or Xcode to Visual Studio Code in the editor preferences. Open up Visual Studio Code. I've shown you a number of ways that you can open up the Visual Studio Code project. Then compile the editor, again using that run build task, and have a look at the terminal. And when that's finished, you're going to relaunch the project. How do you know that it's finished? Well, at the end, it will say terminal will be reused by tasks. Press any key to close it. It also shows you the total execution time for the build process. So that's how you know it will be finished. So pause the video and get to that point. Okay, welcome back. So you can go ahead and relaunch the editor at this point. You can either do it from the Epic Games launcher or by double-clicking on the U project in your project folder. And when the project has opened up, you can go to the content drawer, and now you'll see that next to your content folder in the left-hand pane, you now have a C++ classes folder. If you click into that and go into the Obstacle Assault folder, you can see our moving platform class. So this, being an actor, can just be dragged right into our level. Now, at the moment, the actor is completely empty, so it doesn't even have a position and location. So by default, you will see the gizmo in the viewport being at the center of the map at 0, 0, 0. This is fine for now, and we'll correct this later on. So go ahead and do that, check that everything's working like that, and save your map, and I'll see you in the next video.